Finally, there's some juice in Carolina. What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I am taking a deep dive into the 2023 Carolina Panthers. If you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube at this point. The offseason is a pain, so I love the support that y'all have been giving me recently. We've even been positive in terms of recent trends, which is amazing. I'm so glad that y'all are loving the series. It's great to be able to inform the few of you who do watch it, but also it's great to inform myself. Makes me better for the videos coming in the future because we all know mock drafts are the lifeblood of this series. So being able to actually know what the hell I'm talking about definitely helps. So let's jump right into this. We're starting out with the depth chart, and then we're going to be going to the records predictions, starting out with the skill positions, the line, then line to skill position for the defense. Quarterback, the new guy on the block, Bryce Young. Gotta love Bryce. He's awesome. You know, he was my QB1 starting out the year, and he remained that way. Honestly, my top 4 QBs all remained the same, which is pretty awesome from initial eval to final. You know, that was one hell of a ride, to be fair. They switched places a lot of times, but ended up at the same spot. Bryce never wavered from being number 1. And obviously, the only issue is his height / potential health if he gets crushed by a big dude. But you know what? I think the risk is worth it, and y'all agreed. You guys sent multiple first-round picks, DJ Moore, and I hate to rub salt in that wound, but I'm looking at this team, and my God, you know, I think this team's awesome, and we're going to get to overall in a second, but I think Bryce Young is going to be an amazing leader if the height isn't going to be an issue. So I'm very excited to see that I'm right about that it's not, but I do have my concerns. Miles Sanders was that free agent acquisition, and he's this talented running back. I think that he's going to be perfectly fine, but, you know, it's kind of funny to say that Miles Sanders, who was a starting running back on a Super Bowl team, is one of the weak points of this team. But looking at the wide receivers, you got Terrace Marshall, who I have a lot of faith in. I really like Terrace Marshall. I think he's going to take a step up this year. I think he's going to be an absolute beast. But you guys also have DJ Chark, who I think has been heavily underutilized. He has all the talent in the world. He's a 4.3 speed guy at over 6'3". Like, he is awesome, and he's shown it too. So I'm excited to see Bryce Young be able to use somebody like that. Adam Thielen's a great vet. He is still effective, even though he's not the same Adam Thielen that was 2 or 3 years ago. He's still the third option on this team. And then you got Hayden Hurst there too, who is another weak point on the team, but still a very competent tight end who was in the AFC Championship. So you have really good weapons. You have no tomato cans there. And you got Laviska Shenault backing him up. You got Jonathan Mingo, 2nd round pick, backing him up. Like, holy hell. You guys have a lot of firepower, and just most of it's untapped. So I can guarantee you I'm going to get comments saying, oh my God, this receiving core isn't that good. Look at them. They haven't done anything recently. And you know what? I'm just someone who has a lot of faith in these guys, and I hope I'm right. But looking at the offensive line, this is one of the main reasons I love this team. This team is full of talented offensive linemen. Icky is a freaking beast. We don't need to even go into that, but you have a bona fide star left tackle for 10, 15, 20 years. Knock on wood, closer to the latter figure. Then you have Brady Christensen, who's a talented guard. I never liked him as a tackle, but I thought he'd be a good guard. He's been a good guard, and honestly, he's had some pretty good games at tackle. You have Bradley Bozeman, who's been an awesome addition. The fact that y'all have him on roster still is incredible. And then you have Austin Corbett, who I think is perfectly fine. I like him a lot. Taylor Moton is a stud too. You guys have a complete offensive line, and I'm very picky about my O-line. Very picky. So to be able to have that is incredible. I'm such a huge fan of it. You got Chandler Zavala as well, former teammate of Ike Ekwonu, now back to be teammates with Ike Ekwonu. So that's really damn cool. You got Chuba Hubbard there at running back as well, who's had some good games. And then you also have Matt Corral, my former high school quarterback, there behind Bryce Young, as well as Andy Dalton. This offense is really, really good, and I have a ton of faith in them. I think DJ Chark's going to come back into his own, and then we might see Jonathan Mingo step in where Adam Thielen is if Adam is not up to speed. Now, looking at the defense, this defense is super powered as well. Looking at the defensive line, you got Derek Brown, Shai Tuttles, and I'm already forgetting the guy's name. I think it's Demarion Williams. I literally just looked this guy up, and Williams is obviously the weakness on the team. He was playing. Why am I tripping? I literally just looked at this information. He's just nothing special. He's been around the league for a while. I believe he was drafted as a UDFA to Denver. like back in 2015. So he's been able to stick on rosters. He's talented enough. 17 pressures last year. No, he was with Denver last year. There you go. That's where I was at. I think he was brought on by Chargers UDFA. Regardless, he's been with Denver for a hot minute. He had 17 pressures last year, which is honestly really solid for a rotational guy. But I feel like he's the obvious weak point on the team because you have guys like Shai Tuttle that you brought in free agency, who's a very talented nose tackle. You got Derrick Brown, who's a beast. You got Yetur Gross-Matos, who can step up finally after being selected early in the second round and being able to be the guy that you really wanted him to be. I was praying to God, so you also have Brian Burns. No need to introduce him. I was hoping that you guys would end up going after BJ Ojolari and pairing him up with Brian Burns because he was there for the taking, and y'all went after Jonathan Mingo. We'll see if that is going to pan out. I'm just a huge BJ Ojolari fan, so we'll see what happens there. But hopefully Yetur ends up stepping up and having a big year. Then for the linebackers, Shaq Thompson, Frankie Louvu. Love them both. I think Frankie's up for a contract this year. Hopefully y'all can keep him because he's a really nice addition to the team. This is based off of our lads depth chart. So again, if anything is slightly off, feel free to bring it up, please. But also I am parroting what they're projecting. So again, let's just let's keep the weapons in the holster, so to speak. I'm just the messenger here. But then you got Von Bell, Xavier Woods at safety. I think that's really nice. Von Bell acquisition in the offseason was, especially for the price, honestly, a really good deal. You get a guy who was in the AFC Championship again. And, Xavier Woods has been really solid. Then you got Jeremy Chin still as a nickelback. Glad they're not moving him full-time to linebacker. Again, that could be wrong. I'm just, again, parroting what is on the depth chart at the moment. And then you have J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson. I mean, J.C. Horn, when healthy, is awesome. He was my corner one that year, which, I mean, to be fair, I think we can kind of agree that Patrick Surtain's a little bit better, but Patrick Surtain was one spot behind him. Whoop-de-doo. But guys of note behind him, you got C.J. Henderson and Keith Taylor Jr. There was a time, based on the fact that this secondary doesn't always stay healthy, that you guys had Keith Taylor Jr. starting. And to be fair, I've been a big fan of Keith Taylor Jr. back in Washington. He hasn't been able to step up and be the superior beast that I was kind of hoping for him to be. But he's a good depth piece. He really is. I just don't want him starting against Mike Evans. So that's where it's at. Jamie Robinson, brand new rookie coming in to the fold. They're a strong safety. And then you have DJ Johnson, that third-round selection at edge rusher. He's just a pure athlete, and I think they're taking a shot on somebody who's a pure athlete. I saw him quite a bit in the recent tape studies that I've been doing of these players. A lot of games, especially if they're versus Oregon, I'm going to be watching. So seeing one-on-ones versus DJ Johnson, he pops off as an athlete. He definitely looks like he's going to remain in the NFL. And I think I gave it a little bit too harsh of a grade of an F. I think probably a D is more appropriate because of the fact you can develop him. And right now he's listed behind Brian Burns. His set third-round pick is just super high, especially since you passed on a guy in the second in BJ Ojolari, who was exponentially better and still had similar athleticism. Then from a little bit over a year ago, Brandon Smith, a guy who I believe did he run in the 4.3s or the 4.4s as a linebacker? Really fun to see. No, 4.53, excuse me, because that was the guy who was bringing up when I was talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba's speed overall. So you have a really good roster. I do think there's not enough rookie presence to bring up anybody but DJ Johnson as a rookie of the year. But you got guys like Derrick Brown who are coming up for contracts as well, who I think are going to push it to the max. And with injuries, I can see Jamie Robinson, who I really fell in love with being a big star. Overall, really, really good team. And, that leads to you guys going 9-8 because, simply put, you guys are going to some pretty tough spots. Starting out with Atlanta, they're going to be a little bit more solidified than you guys just based on the fact that Bryce Young, that's his first NFL game. They're going to have Bijan Robinson. So, Bijan's going to be a little bit easier to lean the rock on rather than, being able to rely on Miles Sanders, in my opinion. I think Atlanta's a really good team as well. So it's a fun game to watch, but I do think Atlanta pulls that one for themselves. New Orleans, you guys have that Carolina heat that New Orleans is not used to because they play in a dome. So I think you guys have home field advantage there, and that's going to make the difference. Then you can go to Seattle, and Seattle's a super team, man. They are really, really loaded. So very tough right there. I have you guys winning versus Minnesota because I think this team, again, really, really good. And Minnesota has some critical flaws on their team. Detroit, I have you guys beating them at home and not Atlanta. So that's pretty entertaining. But I think, again, this team is really good, and that's a game that could end up falling to you guys. But Detroit at that point won't even have Jameson Williams, so definitely a concern right there. Then you go to Miami. Miami's a damn good team, and you're in Miami. That's a pain in the ass to play in, but you come off the bye, and then you take out the guy who is taken at number 2 right behind you in CJ Stroud there in Houston. And then you take out another quarterback taken just a couple spots after at number 4 and Anthony Richardson. I think this team is really competitive, and I think it can compete with any of these teams in its schedule. It's just a matter of whether everything is put together and the gears are greased properly. Then you go to Chicago. It's cold during that time of year. It's tough to play. It really is tough to play in Chicago. And I do think Chicago is going to be a lot better. Just finished up their slide deck as well. Chicago is going to have a worse year than their fans are going to want. But overall, I think that's just really tough to play there. Then you got Dallas. Dallas is a super loaded team too. So can't really complain too much about that. Tennessee, I think that Williams and like just the defensive interior being slightly weaker than what I'd want is going to be the reason why Derrick Henry can kind of just pound that A gap or that B gap. And, well, it's technically not an A or B gap because that's defensive terms, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm forgetting if the left side is even numbers or the right side's even. I think it's the 1 or the 3 hole. You're going to go up the guard and you're going to go after Williams the whole time. And I think that could cause a lot of issues because I don't really trust Frankie Louvu and Shaq Thompson to stop a 250-pound Derrick Henry coming at you full speed. So I do think that could be one of those differentiators in that game. Tampa Bay, you guys end up taking that series because I think Tampa Bay is a good team with a very good defense, even better than this defense. But again, they have a critical flaw, and that's in that quarterback position. Then you go to New Orleans. I have you guys splitting because of the fact New Orleans is a good team too. Atlanta, had you guys, I had y'all splitting because, again, it's a fun game, and I usually division split. Then you got Green Bay there. That's a toughie, but because you guys are at home, I think that's going to be the advantage that y'all need. And then you're going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a super loaded roster. I have a lot of faith in them and Dougie P. And then you go to Tampa Bay and win it off. So you guys are tied second in the division. You guys end up being a playoff team as well. So technically, you go from 3 teams not in the playoffs, almost pretty much 4 teams not in the playoffs, all the way up to having 3 teams in. So let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all on the far side.